Hey everybody, I'm back. Gonna do some armor basing and some cloth basing and maybe a little bit of wash. Not gonna spend a lot of time today. I've been kind of messing around with lights to try and get less shadows. That's why you see this in the way. If that bothers anybody, let me know. I really don't know how else to fix this. I lowered my camera as well, so I get a little bit of closer zoom. I apologize again for my nails. I was changing brakes today on a car. But I'm trying to get in here a little closer, and for some reason not focusing now. A little more easier for me to see where I'm painting and zoomed in as far as how it's going. I did do just a tiny bit of work on the horns while I was off camera for a bit. Blend them down a little more. Probably going to add a little more later after I get some of this armor done. But yeah, that's where I'm at. I think today what I want to do real fast is I want to base and wash the armor, not the gold parts though, and the cloth. So what I decided on, I figured if I did the armor in blue, it would blend in with the skin too much. So I'm just going to do, since it's Tzeentch, I want to keep it with blues and purples. I'm going to do the cloth, the loincloth here in the front and in the back. I'm going to do in purple. This is not catching up as quick as I'd hope. I'm going to do that in blue. Sorry, in blue. And then the armor I'm going to do in purple and gold. And swords and stuff, we'll just see what happens when I get there. But that's where I want to head. Let me see where I'm at here with my amp. That's what always dings when I take off. I'll leave it from there. And we'll get started. I said I don't want to spend a ton of time on this today. I'm getting a weird shadow when I'm back there. I moved it, like I said, to get a little bit better of an angle so that I can see a little better. Again, new to this. I'm not trying to make an excuse every time, but I also moved my palette over and moved the camera here to try and get some of the glare off the palette I was getting from the lights. So you can see the mixing colors. I zoomed in a little bit as well. So now I got to get used to where the palette is on the camera. I'll be working here today, which is not going to be a lot. I'm just going to be doing some purple and some blue and some washes. So let's start with that. I decided to stay out of the Guild Games Workshop purples for this and just start with some of this as my base color, this Vallejo blue violet. It's just this, I don't know, looks very Tzeentchy to me. So I'm going to start with that. It's what I used for some of the wash, to make some of the wash earlier. I put just a dab of water in there to thin it just a bit because I want to be able to not glaze it as much this time, but use some of those. I did pre-shade it, but it's kind of not working as I had hoped. But let's go from there. Just start with some of this blue violet, and already missing some of the light that I was hoping. Put this up a bit. See if that messes with anything. Looks a little better. Maybe the white balance is still turned on. But I'm not going to worry about getting on the edges of the armor right now. I'm just going to focus on getting it all in there. So I'm just going to paint it in there. It's not super thin. Now, normally if I was doing gold, I would be basing everything in black, but I'm trying something new. This is really thin. It's still on camera. It's kind of going in there. I'm going to do 2 coats of this. You can still see some of the other stuff underneath, which I don't want, but it's looking all right. Right now it's okay to get it up on some of the what would be gold later on, will be gold later on. I'm just getting this all in everywhere. And be careful not to get it on the skin. And why is that not focused? Okay. That's the basic gist of it. I don't know what. Down in there, there's a breastplate that has a face on it. I don't know if it'll pop in. Yep, there. So that's where I'm headed. That'll be the last thing I do. These arms have to be. It's almost too thin. That's what I want to do. Oh, I'm shaking. A little too much coffee today. Best way to see that hand. I probably should have done this in sub-assemblies. Would have made some of this quite a bit easier. There's raised parts on there. But the more I think about it, there's not a lot to this guy. It's not going to take not many details in there in terms of other things that have to be painted. So it's going to go pretty fast from here, I think. I missed the back of that arm. I forgot. I'm going to get that painted in. This looks like, yep, there. So I'm going to hit this. The camera's almost too close now. I raise it just a bit. Better? Not sure. So get to that breastplate quicker. Might be easier just to do it now. Get it out of the way. Come back and touch up that arm. There is a gold up on this. And I'm kind of not even worried about it's going to be easier to see if I do just get all the purple painted in where. Just paint the gold over it. I'll leave that white because it's going to be purple or gold. So I'm just going to go back in here. There is a lot of twists and turns to this guy to get things. The right spots. Sorry, I forgot to put it on vibrate. And let's see. Underneath will be gold. This arm. Actually, those. The wrist will be gold as well. I didn't think about that on the other one. Doesn't really matter though. Actually, I like it. Oh, not good. Hold on. A little closer is better. Except now it's not focusing. All right. Got some purple on his finger. That's not good. We'll fix that up in a minute. When I touch up that arm. Let's see where else. Keep forgetting. It's looking okay. Again, this is just base coating armor. I'm going to do the wash here at the end, and then come back and do the highlights tomorrow. Probably start on the gold tomorrow as well. Can't tell if I can see in there or not. I'm doing the right thing. I am liking the paint holder though. Maybe better than my other ones that I have. Guessing this down here would be purple as well. Yeah. Back of that will be gold. I don't know if you can even see what I'm doing. Nope. This is like blind painting right in there. For the wash, I'll take care of it. Painting this on the other leg. It's kind of hard. I wonder, what is this? Yeah. It's alright. It'll darken up a bit here in a second. Just looking for some spots that look a little thin in terms of coverage. Gotta get, let me even see it. But like in there. That'll be gold. Just get that purple in there. Yeah. All right. What's that for purple? Pad. Go back and touch up that arm like I said in that hand. I don't know how I screwed that up. How's this looking? Is it too bright? It's too bright. It's having a hard time focusing. Some weird reason. Alright. Go back to I still have some of this flesh left. Some blue. It's still viable. Maybe not. I gotta get some of this blue out. Gilliman. And some Deepkin. Flesh. Gotta go back. Something a little bit close to what I was working on. Didn't plan on having this open. All right. Just touching up. I got some purple. That looks terrible. This one I'm going to try and get it back in his arm. I missed that spot around his arm. And that's pretty unarmored, so it just goes kind of up and into here. Looks like. It's going okay. How are you? Just saw it. First chat. It's going all right. How you been? Just doing a little base coating here. Some washes. I don't like the way that elbow's turning out, but oh well. Let me flip this over. finger. Okay. Yeah, lots of casters. Don't know much about it other than, yeah, lots of casting, lots of change, lots of magic. What I said here, I was going to purple for the armor, blue for the cloth. So blue cloth, what do I want to use? I'm going to go with this Thousand Suns blue because it seems appropriate. And just start there. Not going to need a lot of this stuff. Brush already had some water on it. I'm going to do a couple coats of this. That's really bright. That's a bright blue. And pretty transparent as well. Anybody doing the Cthulhu Kickstarter with Cool Mini or not? Ends tomorrow, I think. Oh, on Cool Mini or Not's got a new game coming out called Cthulhu Death May Die, and there's a ton of really cool Lovecraft's miniatures and stuff in there. But there's one really, really big Cthulhu, and it fits more with some of the resin kits size stuff that I do. But it's huge and awesome. So if you go over on Kickstarter and check out Cthulhu Death May Die, you can see some of that stuff on there. Keep ending up off camera. Not used to the new camera position. Ah, crap. I think I'm going to shade this blue with that Drakenhofschneid shade as well, because it is very bright. It's a strange blue. I didn't expect that. It's cool though. It works. I need more of this than I thought. I'm going to have to take this off to get it what I need to get to, I think. Yep. Get a little more of this out. start with the back of it this time. Knowing that no one's ever going to see this, probably, but it's got to get painted. Kind of coming together here. I think that purple is going to pop a lot better once the first wash is on. It's a little too bright now. Gotta knock it back. Chaos art? No. What I'm doing right now is trying to do. I had promised myself I wanted to get all the heroes that I had bought for Warhammer Quest done. And this is one that was in the expansion thing. So I'm currently not building an army. I'm trying to get all these Warhammer Quest figures done. And that thing's been out for like 2 years now. But I do have enough to do a Nurgle army. I probably have enough to do a Khorne army. Have all the greater demons that have been out so far. We'll get to those when we get there. I want to do all that Night Haunt stuff. That looks really good. All right, just about done here. That's looking okay. Then do a wash, call it for the night, and be back tomorrow. How long have we been going so far? About a half hour. Trying to keep these a little shorter. We'll do some marathon ones later in the week. Because right now it's just getting this boring stuff done. Okay. Let's get him clipped back on. This is the awkward part. There. All right, so base coated, I think. Just a part that's missing. Why is having a hard time focusing today? If it's unwatchable, let me know. I gotta find a way to fix it. And if the lights look good, that's almost too bright. I don't know. Don't know. All right. A little bit up in here. It's kind of hard to see. Almost look good. That looks good. It's okay. Let's touch it up. There we go. Knew I missed something. It's always on these arms. I guess when there's 3 of them, you forget about one. Get in that pit there. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's upstairs. Okay. Let that dry for a second. Tzeentch Violet is what I'm going to do with my wash. So doing this for the purple armor and this for the cloth. So let's just start there. Don't spill. Gonna have to zoom this back out a little bit because it's not what I wanted. It's a lot harder streaming than I thought. I'm so used to doing everything without having to worry about extra stuff. It's too much. There, that looks okay. Hit the back of it. Side. Let's hit this. And this is just to bring out what's going to need to be shaded, what's going to need to be highlighted. Yeah, that knocks it back a bit. We hit the bottoms of it again and bring that up. Stop there on the cloth. Okay, armor. Then we're going to stop here after this. Let that dry for a while. Let's start with shoulder. Just let it flow over everything. Gonna worry about the gold later. And worry about everything else when we get to it. Careful not to get it on the skin around that wrist. It's a bit tough. It doesn't have as much of an edge as the other one. That could just be a casting thing, but let the purple flow. Yeah, we'll do that. Do the other side on there. Just hit his head. God. It's nerve-wracking being streaming. I thought it would look a bit darker than that. Man, I don't know why. And I don't know about me. I'm trying to get back into miniature painting more in the last few years than I did it all through when I was a kid. Got back in a larger scale, like garage kits and stuff, and I've just fell back in love with miniature painting here in the last few years. So, not an expert by any means, just trying to go and have fun with where I was. Trying to pick up new ways of doing things and unlearn some bad habits. But having fun, spending lots of money. On all this great new stuff. It's amazing. I never thought all these years later how cool this stuff would be. I just noticed there's a nice lip under his arm there, so I'm going to go back later with, I don't know if you can see it, but under his arm, I'm going to have to shade that in a bit more. But yeah, this is looking good. I think, maybe. Trying to keep that wash that underside of that top right there. Ugh. It's hard to see on the camera. This is all going to be gold in there anyway, I think. Yeah, gold. So just a matter of getting this wash where I want it to be. This is mostly where all the purple is down there. And there we are. For the blue, I started with, let me go back over it real quick before I cash out here. I started with Deepkin Flesh, which is their new color that came out with some of the those new sea elves that came out. I can't remember their name right now. So I started with Deepkin Flesh and did a wash of, I watered down some Gilliman Blue and did a wash over that. Went back with some of this Deepkin Flesh over the highlights and then mixed in some Pallid Witch Flesh with this and went back over the extreme highlights and kind of left it there. Just over some of the really highest areas like knuckles and fingers and things like that. That's how I did it. Claws I'm going to do in black, I think, and we'll see. That's looking okay. I think once the gold is on that armor, it's really going to make it look like less of a muddy mess than what it is now. And same with that, the cloth. I could, yeah, that's almost dry enough to where I could re-highlight that, but I think I'm going to took my glasses off, but I'm just going to darken in a little bit more in here. Yeah. Normally I want to try and do some wet blending here right away, but I'm going to try and skip that this time. I really like the way that's looking, so I'm going to stick with that. Let it sit for a little while. I think maybe just real quick while I'm at it, take some more of this black color that's starting to dry out and hit the tips of the horns a little more, so a little darker. I need my glasses. I need my readers. Better. And this is just building up purples and blacks over that flesh. I want these darker at the top. But that's it. We're coming in on 50 minutes here. I think I'm going to let this dry till tomorrow. Gonna hit it up during the day probably while I'm still on summer break. But I'll record it, post it on YouTube, and see where we are. But that's where we're at for now. Let that purple dry. I might hit some of that again off camera. I'm already noticing where it's thinning out, so I just kind of want to get around these. You can't even see. Where it kind of lightens up a bit near the edges, which I don't want. I want to stay darker around there. So I'm just going to kind of keep hitting that. See how it turns out. But thanks. I'll be back tomorrow, and thanks for checking in.